Hi everyone in English 1301, it's Dr. E, and I'm here with your week 11 instructional video. So I'm going to jump right into it because we do have some ground to cover. So I'm going to head to the content area to go to our week 11 module. So for this week, we do have a chapter to read. It's chapter 25, and it's about evaluating sources. So a really good chapter about kind of, you know, so much academic writing requires research, and we've done some reading on annotating, summarizing, avoiding plagiarism, etc. But we also need to kind of consider, in addition to distinguishing facts from misinformation, and that's a previous chapter we've read, we also want to think about, okay, how do we look at these sources and evaluate them for clarity, but also for does this hit the mark in terms of what we need for research? Are the sources reliable? That kind of thing. So this is a really good chapter to help us kind of, sort through some of that information. And then you're going to watch Jennifer Aitley's The Hunt for General So, which is a really, fascinating video in its own right because she has some wonderful ideas. But it also is going to help us consider how to evaluate our sources. So I'll get to that in a bit. Last data withdraw with a W, keep that date in mind if you need it for, hopefully other classes. Hopefully you're not thinking about for, for this class. So make sure that you watch the weekly instructional video, which you're watching right now. And there actually is a supplemental video that you'll want to watch this week also. You do have a worksheet that's due on Thursday, and that's going to be related to evaluating sources. And then you also have your quiz and a writing reflection that's due on Sunday. So some things to keep in mind, and I'll expand a bit more. I use this image again. It was also the one in last week because we are reflection. We're, looking at our writing again. So this is the only image I could find that was kind of about a reflection. Anyhow, so here is a link to watch the supplemental video for this week. And of course, what you're watching right now will appear as number one once everything is uploaded. This is a link to show you how to review your feedback and turn it in, because that is going to be essential to evaluating our writing, to go and reflect on our writing. So I'll get to that in just a second, but I want to go in order. So our evaluating sources worksheet assignment, if you click on this, it is going to be based on watching Jennifer Aitley's video, okay, as a source. You're going to use her video and her, her as an author, a videographer, that kind of thing. You're going to use her as a source to evaluate based on Lunsford and our other editors' ideas about how to evaluate sources. So there are different pieces of information the worksheet requires. So I really want you to take your time with it. So if you click on this link, it will open this document for you. And there's also going to be a link to a Google Docs document if you prefer that way. So this is, nope, I'm sorry, this is the writing reflection. My bad. This is the evaluating sources worksheet. So it's really straightforward. So it's asking you to just go in and take a few extra steps when it comes to, because sometimes we just jump right into watching a video, or we jump right into reading a document or an article or something, a chapter. So this is asking us to take a few extra steps just to be mindful, right? So what's the title of the assigned source? So this is where you would write The Hunt for General So, right? And anytime we're doing any work for this class, we need to follow MLA formatting. So please don't put something like, wait, that ain't it, right? When we're talking about MLA formatting, we are putting it in quotation marks. We are capitalizing everything that is necessary. Who is the author, organization, speaker, group? So we're talking about Jennifer Aitley as the speaker, right? But we also want to think about who the organization is, what's going on behind the scenes, because that again gives us some sense of, you know, what is this organization's aim? What is the purpose, right? Are they an organization that's trying to sway us in our thinking? Is it just informational? TED is the organization that, organizes all of these talks, right? It's the TED Talks. So what is their purpose? Well, their purpose is usually just to kind of educate and present ideas from what they identify as experts, right? So you can include that information as well. So TED What is the author's stance in the piece? How do you know? Okay, so what is Jennifer Aitley's overall idea? How do we know? So that can mean like include a quote or include ideas, who we know the intended audience here, right? Because it's a group of people who have come for a TEDx talk or a TED talk. But what might they already know about or think about this topic? So we're looking at preconceived notions here. What are your preconceived notions about this topic? What is the main point? What type of support is used? Is it effective or not? Right? Because we're trying to look at this as, you know, is there effective research? Is it effective in what way? How do we know what kind of support? So if we're looking back at Ron Finley's TED Talk, um, a lot of it was based on his personal experience, right? And his ideas. Sure, he had some statistics and information that were very helpful there. So that's also something that you can know. How would you evaluate the credibility? So this is just pushing us again to take a few extra steps when it comes to utilizing Lee as a source, okay? Okay, so that is what you will then complete and upload. Again, um, let me make sure I have the Google Docs link here, so I'll go back and make sure that that's available. So if we go back to week 11, so the evaluating sources worksheet is due on April 2nd. That is Thursday, but I want you to make note of these dates, right? Sometimes y'all email me and you're nervous, like, oh, I might need a bit of extra time. Don't forget that for all uploaded assignments, you have a grace period. And for things that are due on Thursdays, I typically even extend it to make it appear as though it's due on Sunday with the grace period. So the grace period is actually till Tuesday. So don't beat yourself up if you don't have to, right? Take advantage of these extensions if it's necessary. Of course, I would love everybody to submit everything by Thursday and get it off their plates because then we have other things going on the rest of the week. But I know life happens, okay? The next thing we have is the writing reflection, and this is what's going to take some time because what I'm asking you to do is reflect on your journal, to go back and look at it with fresh eyes, but then to also look at my feedback. And I want to start my discussion with you here. Number one, the feedback, I'm still working on it. Turnitin has been very frustrating recently, and I feel like I deal with this all the time, and it's unfortunate, but I will not have every single person's feedback available until likely 5 p.m. on Tuesday. And that is also why this is due on Sunday with the extension until Tuesday at midnight with that grace period so that there's the full week if you need it. But you can start early. You can complete the first half of the questions based on you going back. Okay, so when you click on this is the document I had up previously. My apologies. Okay. So half of the document, the first 3 questions are for you to look at your writing, to go back and go look at your original submission. And then from our course text we read last week about reflection, right? Reflection gives you the space to see all the steps you took and to evaluate them. Start by listing what you did without judging if a step was good or bad. Then assess each strategy. What helped move the project forward and what led to a dead end or took more time than it was worth? So, when you originally wrote, the most recent food journal assignment, what was your process? How long did it take you to complete? And I'm not going to look at this and go, oh man, this person only spent an hour on all of this or only spent half. There's no judgment. This is you reflecting in your own way. Okay. Look at your original submission. What do you like most about this piece of writing? Is there a section, a sentence? I want you to find something positive about your own writing. So often we're working with negatives when it comes to how we think about our own writing. Let's move away from that. What are you proud of? What did you do well? Even if it's, I did all the formatting correctly, because Dr. E is always honest about formatting. Even if it's a sentence, a single sentence that you just think flows really well and states what you like nicely, find something and tell me why you're proud. Look at your original submission. Where do you see successful writing and how did you make it happen? You know, is it in the first paragraph, second paragraph? Did you make it happen but through revisions? Is it something that just came to you because you were really sitting and focusing on the specific food and you were envisioning it? I want us to be more meta about our writing process, which means we're thinking about thinking, we're thinking about how we think and how we write. Okay, so now we're writing about how we write. You only proceed to the next section after you've read my feedback, which means it has to be available, so you might have to wait until 5 p.m. on Tuesday. I am trying my hardest to get it to you faster than that. But if we go back to the content area, there's a link in the module and there will be a link in the assignment of how to view your feedback and turn it in. Y'all, everybody will have feedback from me. Everybody. Even if you have a 100% you think, oh, I did everything correctly. No, go and look at your feedback. And this shows you how to view it. Make sure you may have to agree to the license. Follow these steps and know that I can see if you've read your feedback or not. So just letting you know. And so you will see blue text by me. That is me talking to you. In addition to, you may have little bubbles and you can click those bubbles to see what they mean and expand them. Okay. Just saying, please make sure you're doing everything you need to do to view that feedback because you have feedback. It just may take until 5 p.m. on Tuesday. Okay, so going back to the writing reflection assignment, right, here's a link. That's the PDF version, but I'll also post the actual link, okay? So after viewing my feedback, I want to know, summarize the feedback you receive from me. And some of you may just have, just general, very straightforward feedback. Some of you, I'm just kind of saying, hey, this is really, a nice way that you explain this. I appreciate you responding. Da, da, da. Some of you may not have necessarily constructive feedback because you are hitting on all the marks, right? After viewing Dr. E's feedback and turn it in suggestions, what questions do you have about the feedback? Is there a note that doesn't make sense to you? Is there a way that I may have offered a rewording that doesn't hit right with you? Whatever, any questions that you have. So, and then either based on your feedback or your writing in general, what is one area of your journal that you'd like to improve and why? So, are you focusing a little bit on grammar? Do you need to work on run-on sentences? Are you striving for more connection to, say, Finley's work because your connections there maybe weren't as strong as you'd like? Are you wishing to add more detail? Are you wishing to add, again, we're reflecting on things. We're not judging ourselves. We're just reflecting on things that we would like to work on and what we may have questions about. Okay, so you'll save this and then upload it to this assignment area, right? And so again, if you didn't originally submit any of this work, which hopefully you have, then you need to submit some sort of food journal. If you didn't submit the first one or the second one, here are the prompts. You need to submit that instead. Okie doke. Okay, so going back to week 11, we also have our participation quiz, right? Just a side note, the random word for the participation quiz this week is going to be scissors. Not to sound violent or anything, but scissors are what I'm looking at right now. And so the week 11 quiz is it's covering everything. It's covering the supplemental video, it's covering this video, it's covering the readings. So there's a lot going on. And that's why we have more points than we sometimes do for that quiz. Okay. So to hit on these topics again, everybody will have some sort of feedback if you submitted the assignment, right? So you need to make sure you know how to view that feedback. You will see my text in blue. Everybody will have it at latest 5 p.m. on Tuesday. You do have an evaluating sources worksheet to work with, connecting to Jennifer 8 Lee's talk. That's due Thursday, but there is that grace period. The reflection is due Sunday, but you also have the grace period, and same with the quiz. Okay, and you do have a checklist that can be helpful if you wanted to use that. All right, y'all, let me know what you need. I do want to let you know that I will not be available on Monday or Tuesday for any office hours because there are all-day workshops going on. And Friday is a holiday. The college is closed, even though I'll be around if you want to email me. But remember, we have the Q&A discussion board. Y'all can hit me up on Remind. Some of you have been doing that, and I appreciate that. Just let me know what you need to help out and help you be successful this week. All right, y'all, take care and good luck.